Good morning. I'm happy to address you today again for another Hamburg project report. In response to many of the same questions by new people just joining our lifeboat with regards to Freemasonry and politics, yes, many Mason politicians in the highest ranks were avowed Freemasons, a secret society. These men were expert in occult practices. The men of Freemasonry, the politicians that you see in today's Mason mass media, were also called 33-degree Grand Master High Priest Wizards. They were also known to be Knights Order Wizards, also 33-degree Grand Master High Priests, usually white supremacists. These men are a determined collective of men and people that support this media conspiracy. They are a collective practice, their collective practice of occult religions is also known as suit and tie Satanism. This, they believe, is the best way to secretly break down the moral fiber of this world. Of all the idols that they worship, the supremacy of Moloch in their idol worship, together with millions of human sacrifices, have set off spells to make these men of politics appear likable and normal on television, something they are not. As of today, they continue to upload Donald Trump videos, as evidenced by today's screenshots, which are uploaded at the director's office at Interpol. We have started ComSol. I don't know how else to say this. We have started ComSol. ComSol is our abbreviation for this same Hamburg network. It's an abbreviation that stands for the International Communist Socialist Freemason Terrorist Organization and paramilitary syndicate, whose paramilitary operations are very focused on the world. Right now, they are focused on Mexicans and other third world countries like usual. Other names they go by are POTUS, meaning people outside of the United States. Today, we add ComSol to the list of all terrorist organizations and paramilitaries operating or trying to operate around the world. The acronym ComSol was chosen to remind society that these people are very dedicated to communist socialist Freemasonry, or one can even say communist socialist democracy. Communist socialist terrorists have heroes like Joseph Stalin, Chairman Mao, and Adolf Hitler. Communist socialist terrorists think that these men that they esteem and idolize are good people. And they have all been brainwashed and are a living social problem, and they need to be brought to justice and put in good jails where they can be educated about the real world, a much better world than ever promised to them by communist socialist white supremacy. Even if they never get out of jail, education and good treatment by others in jail will give them peace of mind and help society to relax. The acronym Council is chosen to remind us here at Interpol and everyone else about the deadly nature of these workers and practitioners of the occult, who once called good religious people religious fanatics, which is what they are. They are religious fanatics who continue to preach separation of church and state. In doing this, these communist, socialist, Freemason men and women, some who claim also to be atheists and anarchists, look to lower our spiritual protection and defense for our countries, our families, and our children. Anybody could pray today, even in government, even in public schools. That goes a long way to helping to protect us from these types and kinds of people. Communist, socialist, Freemasons are good with technology. And in person or on the telephone, they can appear very friendly and nice. But their goals, which they never tell you, is to become rich using your money. Our goals, which they never tell you, other goals which they never tell you, are, as usual, the corruption of society's young boys and young men through legislation and outright crime, and also the cleansing of the races. We have quite a long and extensive track record of their legislation actions to promote and facilitate homosexuality among themselves, society, and with young men. Communist, socialist, terrorists also see the corruption of girls as important and necessary, but only temporary and leading to their eventual deaths, as well as the deaths of white supremacy women, whose embryos they see are more important than the women themselves. Communist, socialist, terrorists prefer young boys and men for their occult religious practices, and have in the past killed many young boys and men whom they have raped and abused sexually using racist criteria before murdering them. Today, these communist, socialist, terrorists are interested in world domination. So they're white supremacist Chinese and white supremacist blonde-haired, blue-eyed leaders are at the top. These white supremacist terrorists are always changing. But their goals are the same as always: to rule the world. In answer to one of their more recent questions, will there be any communist socialist monarchies so they can do whatever they want to children, the races, and each other? The answer is no. There will not be any such kind of government for communist, socialist, terrorists to do whatever they want. People are forbidden to divide any city or area or set aside places for secret occult practices like they have done in the past in many countries around the world. The dividing of cities, rural areas, even nations or states, is something that has been an old practice to communist, socialist, white supremacists. Starting in East Berlin, it was one of the first acts of war committed by back then just communists against the socialists before the two sides joined together in white supremacy after World War II. Berlin was at first shared responsibility before its division. The Cold War then was started by white supremacy Russia. So they could continue with corrupting society, with the racist murdering and killing of men, women, and children in communist socialist countries, which soon spread to democracies and republics. This European, Russian, Baltic, Middle Eastern, Asian, communist, socialist, white supremacy network has terrorists working in Mexico, the United States, Canada, and Latin America as well. They are a sporadic group, however, and their structure and their leadership grid changes frequently. And they never look the same way twice, and they never look the same at the end of each day, as their members are brought to justice. This communist, socialist, Freemason organization also preach self-determination, a word that exists for the right reasons in many constitutions. However, this terrorist network are groups of people that are not able to self-govern themselves, let alone other cities or even nations. And they use this self-determination to set up occult centers in cities, states, and countries. They are like Freemason lodges, where people learn how to practice the occult together with how to corrupt the world's good religions. Depending on the level of Freemason that you are, depends on what you are taught and what you learn. The people of this communist, socialist, Freemason organization and international fraternity are determined to be brought to justice, and I am happy to bring them to justice. A separate report will be given also for the Department of Justice in the United States, but this report is also useful for everybody in all justice departments around the world, so you know what's going on. I remain the target of terrorists. You remain the targets of terrorists. This whole world and their pocketbooks remain the target of terrorists. This world will never for long be in the hands of people who exterminate the races and abuse its children sexually before murdering them. I don't care how nice of people they think they are, how well they dress, or about their former smooth-talking Mason politicians, the ones they use today in the news. What they do is against the law, plain and simple, and has always been against the law. Their martyr's cry, or the battle cry of these communist socialist people, is always to communism, socialism, and Freemasonry, or even democracy if it's convenient for them. Anything that through their hypocrisy, mass murder, and lies, they hope to sustain as a vehicle for their religion of white supremacy, together with the occult practices. By God's grace, mercy, and power, we continue to daily breathe cleaner air and live in a cleaner world each day, free from this oppression by communist, socialist Freemasons. It is important for everyone to pray for their own souls, and that always pray that God's will be done on this earth, not the will of communist, socialist, Freemasonry, terrorists, or whatever these terrorists wish to call themselves to protect their communism, socialism, and Satanism, together with all their occult practices that they learn inside Freemasonry. I thank you very much for your time. May God bless all of you. May God give you hope and expectation for you and your families to live in a better and brighter world. And make sure that you take advantage of all the opportunities there are out there inside your country, state, and municipality for better education and greater awareness for what is happening around the world with today's terrorism. Thank you very much. God bless you. And have a great rotation of the earth. Thank you very much.